Hey guys, welcome back, and we're going to look at D, C, and G chord on the guitar, and we're going to play a simplified version of Knockin' on Heaven's Door, knock, knock, knockin' on Heaven's Door. So let's get straight into it, guys. All right, so Knockin' on Heaven's Door, it's a fairly easy piece of music. Of course, there is, for pretty much every song, there's some complicated versions and some more difficult versions, all right? So we are going to do some of the easier versions here. So we're going to look at D chord first. Okay, so D chord. You can see we've got 4 strings. I'll just sort of point it out to you here on this little diagram here. See, we've got the 2 X's. That means don't play those, all right? So almost like you're lifting your guitar up like that, okay? And you can kind of look at it like that. So we're going to play the E, and the A string are going to be muted or, not played at all. And then we're going to start with the D string, and that works well because it's a D chord, right? So we're going to start with that D string, and then on the G string, we're going to play the A note. Here we're going to play the D on the B string and the F sharp, which makes D. F sharp and A makes up a D chord, and so we're going to play those 4 strings. D chord, just like that. Now you can play a simplified version of that. Now if you do play this A string by accident, you can't really see that, can you? There. If you do play that A string by accident, it's going to sound okay, not as good, but don't play this E string. Whatever you do, if you play that sounds pretty awful, right? So you can mute that by bringing your. So if you're kind of strumming pretty hard, you can kind of mute that string with your thumb, just in case you play the E string. The other thing you can do is you can kind of play a D2 chord, a D add 9. It actually doesn't have the F sharp in it, so it's like technically a D add 2 with no 3, right? But sometimes you might just call it a D2, right? So, and you could use that to mute those 2 strings, like just touching them, right? So if I played all 6 strings, you can hear it, but not too bad, right? I don't mind that D2 sound because it does give a little bit of flavour. You can kind of swap between the D chord and the D2 if you want to as well. That can kind of work really well as well. Okay, so that's the D chord. Then we've got our C chord here. All right, there's our C chord. So the E string is muted here. You can play that, it'll be okay, but try not to. So what I actually do with my 3rd finger here on my left hand, obviously right-handed if you're left-handed, I'm just touching the E string, so that if I do play it by accident, I played all the strings there on purpose, right? If I do that, I won't hear it. But I am trying to play from the 5th string, okay? That makes sense. Okay, so we've got on the 5th string, we've got the 3rd fret. On the 4th string, we have the 2nd fret. We're going to play the G as an open string, and we're going to play the 1st fret of the 2nd string and the E string at the end. We're going to play open. So we end up with C, E, G, C, E. Now the C chord is C, E, and G. So you end up with C, E twice and a G once, right? So that's why. So C chord is C, E, G anywhere, right? On any instrument. So you've just got to play C, E, and G anywhere. So as long as you can find those notes, you go. But that's the standard kind of C chord. Now, a super easy version of that is to just play the 1st fret on that 2nd string and play these, the first 3 strings, okay? That's a super easy version of it, okay? You could do that. All right, so you could do D chord like that, C chord like that, and then a super easy G chord is to just do that. Second one is you can kind of get away with doing that if you mute this A string. All right, so let's go to the G chord now so we can kind of have a look at that. The G chord. Well, that's not a G chord. All right, so looks like I don't have my diagram of a G chord there. All right, so let's pretend that G chord is up there. Let me see what I can find. All right, so For this one here, we're going to play a 3rd fret on the E string. We're going to play, and we're going to use our 2nd finger to start with, okay? All right, then our 1st finger goes here on the B, all right, on the A string. It's the 2nd fret of the 5th string. And then we're going to play, there's a couple of different versions of this. We're going to use our 3rd finger here, right down, try and see if you can see that well. 3rd finger there, right on the 3rd fret on the 1st string, the E string, okay? That's variation 1. That's a nice G chord to play. All right, that sounds nice. You can also, if you bring this one up 1 string and add in your pinky, all right, so that's still on the 3rd fret, and then I'm going to add my pinky where the other finger just was. Slightly different G chord. That's actually the G chord I play more often than not, that one, as opposed to that one. Hear the difference? You can hear it, da, 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 is the difference. Da, da, and all the other notes are the same, right? So one's got an extra D in it, one's got an extra B in it. Okay, so G chord are the notes G, B, and D. And of course, just like all the other chords, you just got to play those notes, and you can obviously we're playing all 6 strings here. Okay, so we must be doubling up on notes. With this version here, we are playing G, B, D, G, B, and then a G. Okay, so we've got 3 Gs, 2 Bs, and 1 D. With this version, everything's the same except we have a D instead of a B. So we've got G, B, D, G, D, G. All right. Now here's the easier version. You might want to use that at some point in time. That's just you've just got a G, a B, and a G, and you can kind of get away with that. Now you can add the D string in there. Kind of sounds okay. That's the 4 ones there. And then the other thing you can do, which is another sort of way to get around it, is instead of playing this B here, what we can do is mute that string, because we can play a B up here anyway. Okay, so if we use a finger there, probably our middle finger there, the 2nd finger, and then you use your thumb to play that low G, and then just with your thumb, just slightly touch the A string so it mutes it. All right, so nothing happens, and then you can just strum across the whole thing. All right, bit of a cheat. It's a bit of a cheat, but you could get away with D chord like that, C chord, then G like that, or G like this. But you should try and work towards, if you're a beginner guitarist, you should still be trying to work towards a D chord like this, C chord, and a G chord like that. Now, for Knockin' on Heaven's Door, what we're going to do is we're going to do D chord for 2 beats. All right, we're going to do D chord for 2 beats, C chord for 2 beats, and then G chord for 4 beats, and then we're just going to repeat that. So, D chord, C chord. All right. I'm going to count into it this time. It doesn't matter how many strums you do. It's just this is how many beats we've got. So we've got D chord for 2 beats, 3 and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So I counted 1, 2, 3, 4 each time, but I counted 1, 2, played the D chord, played the C chord for the 3, 4, which is the second 1, 2, and then for the G chord I played 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you could be holding it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or you could be strumming each beat 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We could strum up and down. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And you can make that a little bit more complicated. 1, hope that helps you guys. I'll catch you soon.